Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com. With your morning horn disease, your sip of chaga coffee. I talked to Jenny today. We are doing a discussion. We're having a discussion. It's been like a month. She's been having back issues and other issues, and like all of us, dealing with the stresses of a collapsing system. And it is very hard to deal with this when you're in the know, when you know that everything's about to fall apart, when you know that all your friends and family are going to lose everything they ever worked for, because they keep it in the system. They keep all their hard-earned wealth, their hard-earned assets, and they give them to the banks to run their crazy rehypothecated stock market schemes and bond market schemes and treasury schemes. Anybody think about what the default of the national debt's going to do to treasuries? Everybody's like, oh my God, I got to stay safe. I need to be in treasuries. Poof, gone. Poof, gone. If they kick it back in again like they always have, yeah, you'll just lose a couple payments and they'll probably make it up by printing money. But will that happen this time? Or will they not? I mean, what's to say if they go by the miss the debt ceiling and they don't do anything, or Biden tries to do something on his own, will anybody ever agree on anything ever again in Congress? I doubt it. I mean, why do you think that you have all these lawsuits coming now, all these revelations about what went wrong in the past, the criminality within the FBI, within every part of the government? It's because this is the end game. The end game is about not agreeing on anything and destroying the old unbacked fiat monetary system. And that's where we are. Jenny and I have talked about this for a very long time. And if you go to the private road at Road to Ruta, go to the Jenny Moonstone readings, amazing stuff going back a couple years now. And all of it pertains to what we're going through right now and where this will end up. And Jenny has been unbelievable at predicting things that she had no idea about before I even asked. And she's she's tapped into something that is, it's amazing. One of the things she did tap into, when will silver be cut free? And she said this 2 years ago, and I can't talk about it right now. I can't talk about it because it coincides with something even bigger than money, which is the revelations surrounding children. But those two go hand in hand, and we can see those revelations coming out with all these bankers being accused and trying to settle with their involvement with Epstein and things like that. But that's long been under data. When all that comes out is when silver is finally cut free. So, yeah, hang on tight, baby. Hang on tight. I will be talking to her and posting that on the private road. Oh, by the way, if you didn't see last night, I posted a great discussion with Andy Shackman. The prior interview we did, we talked mainly about all the reasons to invest in gold and silver because of what's going on with the BRICS nations and the Belt and Road Initiative, all these things that Andy is an expert at all around the world. This time we concentrated on domestic issues. And I mean, there is not one aspect of analyzing gold and silver that doesn't scream investment of a life. Well, a great investment. For gold, there's one thing that might hold it back a little bit, and there's about 10 times the amount of gold that they tell you there is. There's about 10 times the amount of gold there is. It won't hold it back in dollar reasons, but because they're printing so many dollars, we don't even know how much. Andy and I talked about the amount of debt out there, both the known debt. It's not 31, 32 trillion dollars. No, you got to add Medicare and Social Security and all that stuff, and you got to add the secret U.S. bonds that they're creating. Over 100 trillion of them are out there that Dr. Skidmore discovered. Check out Catherine Austin Fitz's website for that. But the amazing story is there is not one data point in silver that says this is don't invest in silver, or it's properly valued, or it's overly valued. Nothing. Not one scintilla of evidence points there. Everything that you look at, from supply to demand to industrial metal to a monetary metal, everything is screaming investment opportunity of a lifetime. You have a chance to change your entire family history by jumping into physical silver only right now. I know it's enticing to see all these mining companies that are so cheap, but the reality is you need about 50 things to go in your favor for any mining stock to do well. Not only do you need the government in which the mining companies are ruled by to say, yeah, we want foreigners to take our metal out of our ground, and we're not going to keep our treasures when the system collapses. No, that's not going to happen. So I think, all mining stocks, forget about them. Now is not the time, my friends. There will be a time. No matter how undervalued they are, now is not the time, because they'll all be nationalized. I would nationalize gold and silver if I was running a country and all of a sudden the unbacked fiat monetary system was destroyed. Everything was destroyed financially. That's a drastic thing. You think they're going to say, here, Mr. Investor of silver mining stock in Mexico, you can have our riches because you made a smart move and invested in a mining stock before the system crashed. Congratulations. Not a chance. Not a chance in hell. And they've already started nationalizing or pseudo-nationalizing all around the world. A lot of countries are stopping the export of silver. I think Mexico will be the biggest, obviously. They export about a third of the silver that comes out every year. They've been giving away their treasures, and that's going to end abruptly very soon. So, check out that discussion. It's on the Road to Ruta YouTube channel called Silver Alert. U.S. debt default will catapult silver to heights never imagined. Dun, dun, dun. Of course, they slammed silver today. Again, they can click a mouse and put silver at minus $40. The price you're looking at for gold and silver is fake. 100% fake. 100% controlled by the computer programs written by Alan Greenspan in the 1970s to control the price of everything. They use it for stocks and bonds and oil and corn and wheat and housing price. You name it. It's rigged with computers and derivatives. Even the dollar, the unbacked fiat currency of the world, is controlled by the computer programs and derivatives. So when that system fails, which it will, we're not going to know the price of silver for a while. There'll be people locally saying, I'll give you, X amount of, it'll probably be barter by then, truthfully. That's how important it is. Silver is the number one most important thing that the banking cabal, the Fed, the Treasury, the IMF, the World Bank, all of them are afraid of silver, not gold. They own all the gold. Why would they be afraid of gold? They're afraid of silver because they don't own it. They've sold off massive hoards. No government I know right now holds any, although some probably do secretly. And it's needed in the industrial side. If you want to grow your industrial base of your country, you better have a hell of a lot of silver for the high-tech future we're headed into. So, So yesterday, the volume of silver, look at this day right here. On May 11th, just last week, volume was 112,000 contracts. Now, you take out a calculator and times that by 5,000, which is, each contract is 5,000 ounces. That's over 500 million ounces of silver. It's inching up to what they mine every year, which is 800 million or around there. And by the way, the mining of silver, it hasn't changed in 20 years. It's not like, oh my God, we're running out of silver, we better mine more. No, they can't. Not at these prices, at least. And there's no huge silver mines that you've heard of. There's plenty of huge gold mines. The deeper you dig, you'll find more and more gold. And if you go into the national parks, you're going to find a hell of a lot of gold, but you can't take it out because the U.S. is saving that for the future. So, these are all derivative contracts. And the settlement aspect of it, I mean, this month, May is supposed to be a gigantic delivery month for silver. It's going to be one of the lowest in history. Why? Because they're taking all the deliveries out of the COMEX and moving them to the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association. Last month, there was over 100 million ounces that were delivered, literally delivered off the COMEX. Right now, I think we're at 50 million ounces. And these are done with these things called EFPs, exchange for physical. For some reason, there's still 423 contracts. We're getting near the end of the month, and somebody has not been able to deliver just 423 contracts. Because you wouldn't keep it in inventory because you're paying for storage. If you had it, if you're not paying for storage and you're trying to scramble around, get the price as low as you can by the end of the month, by the delivery date, yeah, you do that. Insane. We live in an insane world. Okay, let's talk about the end game. The debt default is going to be big. Whatever happens, it's going to be big. No matter, you got to remember that both sides want this thing to blow up, believe it or not. And it's probably the best for the United States of America if we do default on our debt. Destroy the old system and start something new, because we are the largest debtor in the nation, in the world by far. And yes, absolutely, China supports the U.S. game because they're winning the game. Why would you want to end the game when you're winning? So China will absolutely support, they might even be the short in silver. There's one silver short that has been added to the top four. So there's 3 commercial shorters, and there's just one managed money shorter in there now. Now, I think it's BlackRock, but it could be China. I don't know where they'd be categorized. Why would China do that? Why would China try to keep this system going? Because they're winning. They're absolutely winning. Everyone's like, oh, China's going to destroy America by getting rid of the U.S. dollars. Why would they do that? They're winning the game. They're building their infrastructure. They're building the cities of the future. And some of them are falling apart. They've been around so long. You ever see those ghost cities in China? Look that up on the internet. That'll scare the crap out of you. There's like a Paris built in China with nobody living in it. Literally a replica. It's crazy. But they're playing the game. They have 1.3 billion people, something crazy like that. Of course they're going to try to build everything they can, build out their infrastructure. Do the same thing the U.S. is doing. Run fiat money as hard as you can. One day people will wake up, but not today. People are dumb. People won't wake up until they go to their ATM and they can't get any money out. And that's what we're getting to. So, Trump urges GOP to let catastrophic debt default happen if Dems don't accept cuts. So, Trump, who's leading the Republicans by far, as well he should. And then the Democrats are saying Democrats want Biden against cutting debt ceiling deal with McCarthy. So the Democrats don't want to do it. The Republicans don't want to do it. They're not going to do it. And Biden is told what to do by his controllers. It's insane. We've hit the insane part of the world. Now, I did talk about a couple days ago a private road discussion about what I think is going to happen and when. So go check that out on the private road. So I did a little chat GPT AI question. How many countries have defaulted on their national debt? Now, I disagree with this because I think the United States has defaulted at least 3 times. There was one time right after, in like 1790, right after we were a country, we defaulted on our external debt. And then we defaulted in 1933 /34, the Gold Confiscation Act. And then revaluing the dollar, that counts as a default in my book. And revaluing gold to the dollar. That was a complicated issue. And in 1934, I think that was finally done. So we confiscated in 34, the Gold Act was created, which changed the price of gold from $20.60-something to $35. Now everybody said, oh my God, that's crazy. A gold revaluation via the dollar. It's basically the government printing money out of thin air. I think what they were doing is getting it so that the mining of gold became profitable again, because gold miners got destroyed after 1900 because they fixed the price of gold to $20.60. What is it? 62, 67, something cents. But the costs were ever increasing because the creation of the Fed created, multiples of money, free money when the Fed was created. It was only 2-1 at the beginning, I think, or 60% they could rehypothecate, or they could fractionally reserve. which increased the costs of all the miners, but you have a fixed price. It didn't work. So then they jumped it to $35, and then, miners became profitable again, but it had to go back to the government. It was crazy. Can you imagine today if Joe Biden said, all right, I'm confiscating all the gold and silver in the people's hands? He couldn't do it. People would say, what? Are you kidding me? Get out of here, Joe Biden. He could do it. He could lock up SLV and CEF and the Comex warehouse and all the warehouses, big warehouses of gold and silver. They could probably do that. And they'll do with what they can. These are criminals running the United States of America. And we'll fight back. But anyway, here are the several countries that have experienced instances of default, according to ChatGPT. Argentina has a long history of defaults. It defaulted on a sovereign debt in 1827, 1890, 1951, 1956, 1989, 2001, and 2004. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times Argentina has defaulted on their debt. And you might ask yourself, who in their right mind would lend to Argentina after they defaulted once or twice or 3 times? Why? 7 times, really? Everybody who lost money on that deserves it. Absolutely deserves to lose money. Anybody who loses money in the default of the United States of America debt, which is obviously coming down the road, deserves to lose their money. Everybody running out of the bank into the Fed, what's it called? Fed, where you buy Fed T-bills directly from the Fed. Fed Direct or something like that. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. I mean, both sides of Congress are screaming, we're not going to budge an inch. Yeah, they always say that. Why do you think now is different? Well, number one, the big silver shorts, the top 3 are getting out of their silver short. They're probably out by now. Those numbers come out tomorrow. If the big 3 are out of their silver short, it leaves one massive silver short. I think it's BlackRock, because it's in the managed money category. So it can't be one of the big banks. I did ask Ted Butler, could B of A be counted as is it a commercial or is it a managed money? This is the Commitment of Traders report for silver. I haven't heard back, but yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know, because B of A is brand new to silver, just started shorting silver 3 years ago and ended up shorting 1.2 billion ounces of silver. Obviously, it was the least from JP Morgan. That's how they were able to do it. And this is the over-the-counter market. This is completely separate from the COMEX, by the way. So there's a lot going on that shows that this time is actually different. So hang in there. Also defaulted was Greece during 2012, Russia 1998, thanks to Project Hammer, the American CIA takedown of Russia. Putin's still pissed about that, by the way. He doesn't have any problem taking down the United States. You know Putin knows about gold and silver. When you have such a powerful leader with access to billions and billions of dollars, knowing that, hey, all I got to do is go buy silver to destroy the economic system. That's pretty serious stuff. That's how weak the United States market riggers are. Anyway, Ecuador defaulted in 2008, Zimbabwe in the 2000s, Venezuela in 2017. It is horrific. The default is horrific, but we survive. We keep moving forward. We change politicians. We change bankers. What we have to go through has to be horrific to the average Joe, because otherwise the average Joe will just sit on a freaking couch and not do a thing. Oh, who cares about these crazy pedo politicians? Who cares about printing money to thin air? I just care about my EBT card. We're already seeing riots all over the United States, if you haven't looked. There was huge riots at Disneyland or Disney World in Florida just yesterday or the day before. Chicago streets, we've seen that. It's going to happen in every street in America when the EBT cards, the welfare cards don't work, or when the ATMs don't work. You're going to see rich people rioting. And that's where it's coming. So, yeah. And are we doing well like Biden says so? No. Americans continue to pile up credit card debt, edging close to $1 trillion in credit card debt. Here it is right here from the Fed, St. Louis. This is credit card debt. Look at this. Back in 2000, it was at $200 billion. Damn, that's a lot of money. Boop, 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 boop. And then just massive amounts. And we have peaked out just under $1 trillion in credit card debt at high interest rates. And all these like, we'll give you 0% for 3 months. And then they screw you with 28%. That's the way the game crumbles. That's when people get really mad. The banks are absolutely up shit creek. What they do is they sell these credit card debts into the market as derivatives so that they don't have the risk, and they hedge themselves with derivatives. So when the credit card bubble blows, the derivative market blows. The derivative market blows everything. $2.5 quadrillion is the estimate, is my estimate. Most people are just saying 2 quadrillion, but that's been the estimate for what? 10 years. I think it's 2.5 to 3 trillion, quadrillion. 1,000 more than a trillion. So yeah, Jamie Dimon himself has, JP Morgan has 50 trillion. Goldman Sachs, with barely any assets at all, has 52 trillion. Interesting, if you've been watching my stuff, Goldman Sachs just surpassed JP Morgan in the amount of derivatives. First time in, I think, recorded history. So really interesting stuff. All right. Oh, by the way, if you don't think this is coming fast, Janet Yellen to meet with Jamie Dimon and other bank CEOs on Thursday as debt ceiling crisis looms. Back in 2008, they didn't bring in the CEOs till much later. Janet Yellen knows what's about to happen. This tells me it might even happen this weekend or next weekend. I give, I think, 3 different weekend possibilities on the private road in my latest post. And this is what the regional banks are doing. They've gone from valuations in the $65 billion range down to, of market cap, down to, they are now under $40 billion market cap. So yeah, huge drop in the regional banks. We're going to see a massive drop again. This massive drop is going to be the mother of all drops. Janet Yellen says if the banks fail, if the credit limit is not increased, we will see at least 16 bank failures immediately. And then the 4,000 regional banks, and then the large criminal commercial banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all the big guys. They should have crashed a long time ago, but hey, we've been holding it together with Alan Greenspan's computer programs. That's what Root A is, Road to Ruta. Root A is the basis of the computer-controlled financial system. You have Root A, you have checking, savings, money market, blah, blah, blah. This is all from a IBM how to code computers back in the early 1970s. And this is what was written in the Wishes and Rainbows comic book from the Fed. I'll show you that in a second. But here, this is from the annual report of the FDIC. Everybody's like, oh my God, I got to get under the FDIC insurance, which is $250,000. If what is going to happen happens, I don't think FDIC insurance is going to bail anybody out. Could be, it might be used in some limited capacity, but the FDIC doesn't even have enough money to bail out 1/100th of what they insure. Barely have 1/100th. So do not count on the FDIC to make you whole. They just don't have the money. Maybe $100 billion right now, but it's right here. How much do they insure? 10 trillion. So they have $100 billion insuring 10 trillion. And they can't create money out of thin air. They have to go to the U.S. Congress. And again, the U.S. Congress can't agree on anything. And if you look at the DIF, the Deposit Insurance Fund ratios, this is as of last year, the minimum they're supposed to hold is 3.5 or 1.35% of the total deposits they insure. And they're well below that now. They're in the 1.2 range. So they can't even meet the minimum, much less bail out the 16 banks that'll fail if we don't pass the debt limit, the 4,000 banks that will fail overall when that happens. So do not count on the FDIC. So what do we do, Bix? What do? Well, I can tell you what Ruta recommended in the Road to Ruta comic books from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Those who don't know what I'm talking about, go to roadtoruta.com. I'll show you where to go. Go to the when you go on the website, you'll see these couple videos. Good discussion with the SGT report, Sean, there. But watch these two videos, Secrets of the Fed and Golden Oldies to the Crypto Future. That explains these comic books, why they're relevant, why they're important, why they show the blueprint of how to move from an unbacked fiat monetary system to a gold-backed system. And if you don't believe me, just look at Ruta. So when in the course of finding these precious assets, the mayor or the president goes to Ruta, Root A, which is also Alan Greenspan, by the way, because he invented the computer programs. And so what do? How do we allocate these precious assets to the public? So it would be I don't know if Janet Yellen will be there, but Janet Yellen saying, okay, somebody tell us, how do we allocate the gold that we have and the silver that we have both at the U.S. Mint and in places like Chocolate Mountain in California, the Grand Canyon gold, obviously. How do we allocate that to the people? And it won't be by FDIC insurance. And what it will be by is Social Security balance. That way you satisfy the people who've worked the longest and the hardest to get most. Everybody will get a base, I expect, so that everybody can live, because there'll be no more debt. That's the biggest problem. Don't forget that. So everybody gets a base amount of gold and silver, and then it's allocated additional to, if you've worked hard and long in the system, it'll show up on your Social Security payments. Some entities don't have Social Security, like the railroad workers and things like that. That will be adjusted, I expect. Now, this is me from studying this for 16 years since this document was posted. And I was there, January 1st, 2007. And as a matter of fact, if you look right above us, this is page 15, there's Ruta writing in the sand 11 plus 9. So this came out on, obviously 9/11. This came out on January 1st, 2007. I thought it was referring to 9/11 of 2001. It was not. It was referring to 9/11 2008 is when $500 billion ran out of the money market funds, and we were hours away from destroying everything. Complete collapse of the global monetary system. So do you think the Fed knows? The Fed made this comic book. The Fed changed this. In the original comic book from 1981, it was an economic formula called On the Road to the Golden Age. How, if you want to go back to a gold standard, print as much money as possible. Print it to infinity, soaking up all the benefits. Create your roads, your bridges, your houses, build your military, and then collapse the system through ultra money printing is kind of where we are now. Quadrillions of dollars are being printed, and a lot of it is not even told to the public. But, so that was Ruta's idea is, hey, we're going to go back to a gold and silver standard. How do we allocate it to the people? Because most people don't have any. We go by Social Security balances, and then ultimately, this is the Banking Basics book that was published with the Road to Ruta documents the very same day. It didn't have the big red exclamation point that the teacher's guide had and the Wishes and Rainbows comic, but this picture was in it, and it talks about how banks fail. And if you don't think this comes from the Fed, just go to the end of this document. Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, right there. And there she is, cashing in gold for cash or cash for gold. This is the Federal Reserve, the most anti-gold entity on the planet, saying, oh my God, we have to go back to a gold standard. Here's how I think we're going to do it. Anyway, that's what I got for you. Again, we'll be checking in with Jenny Moonstone later today, and I will post that on the private road. We're going to talk about this collapse, when the collapse is going to happen, how long it will take. I think it might take years to get to something like this, which looks very peaceful. But then again, the people at the Fed and the Treasury have had over 100 years to plan for this. There is a plan in place. I guarantee you there is a plan in place. I don't guarantee you that the people will accept it, because that was in the teacher's guide also, that what if people don't accept this idea we have to go to a new monetary system? What happens then? And they don't have answers to that. I think people will accept it because they get to get rid of their debt. Yeah, you'll own your house flat out. You'll own everything flat out. whatever's in your possession. That's why I'm so adamant. Get your crap in your own possession. In your own possession only. It is way too late to think about anything else. Go to your local coin shop today. Could it happen this weekend? They want a weekend. The FDIC said it in their last meeting. Well, this is going to happen hopefully on a 3-day weekend. Well, we have a 3-day weekend coming up in 8 days. And it just happens to coincide with the last X date that Janet Yellen says that the U.S. runs out of money. And it coincides with the votes or trying to pass debt limit ceiling increase. Like I said, everything's coming together. Anyway, you want to join the private road to have all this fun, get the backstory. Go to roadrooter.com, click on subscribe today. It's $2.99 for a year, $299. That's less than $1 a day, and you get all the archives on the Road to all the interviews and discussions. And we send you this coin. It's the Ruta Lives coin that we don't sell it otherwise. We give it out as part of the membership, and we mail it to your front door. I believe that this coin over the near future will pay for the subscription and more. So go check it out. roadtoruta.com. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.